Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will. I'm a D&D sex icon and the world's greatest role player. I'm back today for the first episode, in fact, a session 0 of Waterdeep Dragon Heist. We've got the start of Season 3 happening right here, right now. So let's get to it, my friends. We just finished a 48-hour stream a couple of hours ago, so we're a little bit tired, but the rest of these guys are fine. We have Greg with us tonight. Greg, how's it going, my friend? How you doing?
Oh, buddy. I am pumped. I am psyched. Everybody has the story. Here's mine in a nutshell. The first city mine old RPG feet walked into was Waterdeep. I get to tread the cobblestones of the very city that founded me in this game, and I am stoked to be doing it. Let's get to it.
Let's do it. So we've got a little session 0 today. So let's go around. Let's meet the cast and crew. Let's figure out who we are and who we're going to be playing. We have a couple of new folks to Encounter Roleplay. So we have Pip with us, Tiny Pixels. How's it going, Pip?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How you doing, sweet?
I'm doing good. I'm getting there. I'm waking up.
Good.
I'm ready for some Waterdeep, and I'm worried about what Greg has in store for us, but it's fine.
So is this like the worst time ever to say I've never been to Waterdeep before? This is the worst time ever to say I've never been to Waterdeep before, right?
It might be the best time. It's either the worst or the best. It remains to be seen. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who you're going to be playing today?
Yeah. So in a massive departure from everything that I'm ever comfortable with, I'm going to be playing Maureen, she's a Triton bard. I have instruments at the ready. I have inspiration at the ready. And I have fins, I guess.
Great stuff. Awesome. Well, we also have Caroline OMG Vandy back with us tonight. How is it going, my friend?
It is going so well. I'm so excited to be here. I am so excited. This is going to be so much fun. Also, I haven't been to Waterdeep either, just so we're clear.
That's fine. We're like tourists.
Yeah.
Ooh,
that's basically who my character is, essentially.
So who are you going to be playing?
I'm going to be playing Ruva. She's a Tabaxi barbarian, basically a real-life Catwoman. And she is traveling from a very far-off place to discover new far-off places. So she's excited.
Absolutely. And of course, we have returning back to the channel. Just can't seem to shake him off. Mythomatic, how's it going, my friend?
Hello! Will may be a D&D sex icon, but I am the new proclaimed one of many D&D daddies. Apparently, that is a thing that's exploding now and trending on Twitter. If you have any idea what I'm talking about, head over to Twitter and take a look at that because it is wacky. I'll be playing Edmer Daggerfell. It's pretty much a human blood hunter mutant. I think it's the mutagen build. I'm basing him off of Rodney Dangerfield as a blood hunter, so it should be a lot of fun and very silly. I'm super excited to play. This is I guess I'm kind of treading the boards of Waterdeep in a second world and timeline as we speak in a separate game, which is going to be fun. I'm really interested to see what Greg does and how he takes this wonderful module that we're going to play. So yeah.
Awesome. Great stuff. Amazing. And we have someone who's intricately connected to the book club we've been playing, Mr. James Hake. James, how's it going, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing really well. I'm super excited to be back on Encounter Roleplay after a little time away. I'm James Hake. I am the co-author of Waterdeep Dragon Heist, along with some other very cool people, including Mr. Chris Perkins. I'm super happy to be in the city of Waterdeep. I've sort of been living there for the past, since about 3 months ago last year. So about 15 months now I've been in the City of Splendors, and I just got my hands on my copy of the book yesterday while I've been here at PAX. I've been at PAX all weekend, and I'm exhausted, but I could not be more awake and excited to be here at this game.
Incredible. Awesome.
Let's see. Oh, my character. The very person that I will be inhabiting here in the city. I am playing Valyar Grebendine, or just Val for short. He's a half-orc. He's just a monk right now, but that's because he's more of a fist fighter, right? He's kind of a brawler. I think from here on out he'll be taking only fighter levels because he is in here to get down and get dirty in the streets.
Hell yeah. As for myself, I will be playing Graham, the Dragonborn alchemist. Now, he is not a very good alchemist, and that's part of his problem. And he easily gets himself trapped up in a lot of dangerous scenarios that he probably shouldn't get himself into. But he's a kind, loving soul, and he's just trying to do his best to make remedies and tinctures and healing potions for people, but invariably they don't work out particularly well. But he's refining his recipe. He's working on it. And hopefully by the end of this, he'll be able to create a successful healing potion. And that is my one goal for 16 weeks with Graham. So if I can pull that off, then I will be happy. I've played in Greg's games before, and I'm setting my expectations low because I know things are unlikely to go how I plan. But moreover, the Alchemist class is on drive-through-RPG from tribality.com, and that's the one that I will be using, and I will link it to you guys here. Before we dive in, quick reminder for you guys, the sponsors of Encounter Roleplay this season, because we've got a couple of new ones, to talk you guys through fantasygrounds.com, of course, our virtual tabletop of choice, as ever. If you want to play tabletop games, go to fantasygrounds.com, check it out, and play games with your friends online. It's fantastic. whalinggames.co.uk are the go-to destination for tabletop games and Warhammer and printed miniatures. Go over to whalinggames.co.uk for that. And new sponsor for the show is tabletoploot.com. Every single episode of every show this season, which is around just over 200, 12 per week, we'll be giving away a set of tabletop loot dice at the end, including this game today. So stick around to the end, and we'll be running a giveaway for a tabletop loot beautiful set of dice. You can interact with the show normally, but because we're doing a session 0, it's a little bit different. You can give players nat 1s, nat 20s, wild magic surges, I guess, in advance if you'd like. That certainly happened last time around. And of course, here is a tweet for you guys as well. But I want to hand over to Greg to run the session 0, my friend, and tell us a little bit about what we're going to be doing.
Well, before I tell you exactly about what you're going to be getting into in the City of Splendors, the Crown of the North, I would like to know a little bit more about the characters and why they find themselves in the city. So the first question that I would pose to all of the PCs, what has brought you to Waterdeep? Are you looking for adventure? Are you simply looking for work? Or in the case of a bard performance, are you chasing a lover? Are you running from a lover? What are the circumstances that find you treading those majestic cobblestones? And as you come up with those answers, feel free to shout them out. I want to start us off with just the basics. The city is there, but why are you?
All right, I'll bite. I think Edmure is more of a street urchin. Used to be an adventurer, but over time has kind of lost his touch. He maybe was, level 3, level 5, mid-level maybe. But over time, he's kind of dwindled. And the reason why that is because he's been addicted to a certain drug. That drug is what gives him what it is that is his power. Being a blood hunter, he, of course, uses blood magic, but not necessarily in casting rituals and such. He takes tinctures and potions and certain poisons that give him that fuel of energy and that fuel of enhancement, I guess. So Edmure is probably wandering the streets, probably looking for work, and almost as like a very strung out. Maybe he was a performer before, and now is just a very strung out, wisecracking drug addict of the streets of Waterdeep. So that's why he's here. He's here because he's got the fix, and this is the best place to get it because of the port town, and this is just the first place it'll land, the first place that you can pick up some of that good blood magic right off the waves. So that is why he is. That's why he's
that
here.
grade A, that grade A
Yeah.
drug.
Uncut blood magic. Right?
That gray A positive
It's like blood diamonds.
drug. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so let me ask this real quick. If he's been doing work that is not of the performing and not of the adventuring variety, how has he supported himself? Does he have a place where he's staying, or is he truly a street person and gone back to his street urchin roots?
Recently, he has spent a couple nights on the streets. He may be evicted soon. Let's say he's at let's say he's in the Dungeons and Dragons Forgotten Realms equivalent of an Airbnb at the moment. And he is slowly running out of coin. Actually, quickly running out of coin. The last couple of nights he's been spending maybe under some sort of awning somewhere of an abandoned shop or something like that, where he hasn't made his way back because he's afraid of what the landlord or the landlady may say to him, who he is renting the space from. He does dodge going back to his residence by hanging out at the local bar and trying to drink away his make-believe sorrows, because everything for him, being inspired from Rodney Dangerfield, is really just more about a joke. His life is miserable, but it's in fact all about the comedy, and it's just material for him. Because someday he'll be back on that stage, he thinks. But right now he's addicted to this drug, whatever it may be, this blood drug.
Okay, so that's fittingly horrific for a homeless drug addict as we begin this cheery tale of
Sets the tone,
Waterdeep.
yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so right. As is always my want to get a little bit of ideas, thinking about Rodney Dangerfield in this manner kind of already paints the picture. But the next question that I will be asking, and I'll go around to other people for their reasons for being in the city first, is think up three mannerisms or like quirks that might be associated with Edmure. So something that if he were to be picked out of a lineup or somebody's identifying him for a crime, they might say, oh, he has a nervous laugh, or he's eye twitches, or something that might be a tell if it were in a poker game, something of that nature. It doesn't have to be one, don't have to have three. If he's like Dangerfield, very upset all the time, or pulling at the collar, or whatever it may happen to be. Just some type of
have a bit of a
mannerism.
chuckle. Yeah,
Right.
his tell for nervousness is a chuckle, and that chuckle happens all the time. It's just he'll say something, and then it follows up with this nervous, right? And that's always just been how it has been, and it always has been a cue. At least for him, it's been instinct for him, but it was always a cue for the audience to know when to laugh. So, and with that, it's just been instinct and habit at this point to chuckle after himself, and also when he's nervous.
Fantastic.
Also, his eyes are bulging, and he's got a scarred face full of swelling because of this drug.
Right. Obvious first signs of hypertension. Got it. So,
Exactly.
All right. So as we move then away from Edmure, as he is presumably still on the streets, sleeping off whatever concoction he was able to get his hands at, that grade A positive shit that comes out of the Waterdeep Harbor, sleeping underneath the awning.
Yeah.
Why is everybody else in the city?
I think going off from what Myth said about maybe there being like a blood magic problem right now, I think Graham may have been called in by like a professor. So he's just kind of fresh-faced out of university, quite young Dragonborn, and he actually didn't pass all of his exams. So he's like pending for like all of his exams to be approved, but like he knows that he hasn't actually gotten all of them. But like he's not doing it to like hurt anyone. He just wants to try and like help people. So he's probably been called off and heard that there's a problem in Waterdeep that maybe he could help with, because he knows a little something about alchemy, and it really is a little. He's very poor at alchemy. He has skills elsewhere, but he's not sure where. So I think maybe he might even know Edmure, in that he may have like been helping to like test him. He might be like a patient or a subject for Graham, because like he understands scientific like principle, like you should have some test subjects, right? Like he's got no idea how to control any of his experiments, but like I should have some test subjects. So he may have befriended Edmure, and he's probably in a similar situation money-wise, where like, no one's actually paying him to do this. He just heard there was a problem, so he's trying to be helpful. So he's probably ended up in this D&D Airbnb with Edmure trying to help him, you know, fix him, but really having no way or indeed means to actually help him at this point. But he'd like to set up a shop here.
Okay, so his primary reason, though, is he was called by local authorities to maybe come and... What is that? Was that his draw?
I think he
was
might
that
have just seen a poster, you know, like...
That's what I was going to say. Was it like a flyer?
This is my calling.
Right. So
it's
it
like
was
he's
like at
looking for some kind
university.
of sign.
Right.
Yeah, and he's going for a newspaper, and he's like, "There it is," you know, like I'll go to Waterdeep. So he's gonna travel there, and yeah, it may not have gone so well.
Okay, but his main job there, and he's kind of latched onto Edmure, is he's trying to, in some way, help with this pseudo-epidemic that's kind of sweeping through Waterdeep proper. And the only person he's really even attempted to do so with is Edmure. And they're both basically vagrants at this Airbnb.
Right. Yeah, I think
He's also known as a hostel.
He considers them his patients, but they're probably not really, because he doesn't have any medicine, and he doesn't have any money to like create any medicine. So like, he may be easily swayed into like doing something which he shouldn't, maybe criminal or illicit, to like, you know, Edmure could convince him to like, oh, let's go and get some materials, and really what we're doing is like busting up a shop to steal money to buy drugs.
Right.
I could see that happening.
Right, it's like in the Godfather 2, whenever there was a rug that had to be picked up because he was owed that rug, and they just went and broke into a house. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay, so understand, you're there with good intentions that could be easily swayed by the the lure of Waterdeep. Okay.
Right.
Got Graham and Edmure. What about everybody else? Val, Ruva, Morwen?
So, Val, I have lived on the streets of Waterdeep my entire life. I never knew who my parents were, and in fact, I was raised by fellow urchins. I know the streets of the dock ward like the back of my hand, but over the past couple of years, I have not lived in my local stomping grounds, but I have been in the saccharine, suburban, middle upper class regions of the North Ward, the Trades Ward, places where people who aren't powerful enough to be nobles, but who aren't poor enough to be urchins, make their homes and visit coffee shops and all of that. I've actually been working as a line cook for the past, 3 years now. But the secret is this. That's just my day job. By night, I am a con man. I'm a good con man. I am what they call a hitter. I usually run my cons by finding people, sweet talking them. I've picked up a couple of nice words from the wealthier patrons in my establishments. And then when the time is right, when things need to be hurried along and pockets need to be lightened, I use this. And I take what I need. It's usually just little things, money from the folks who don't need it, food from the people who've got plenty. Now, I'm no Robin Hood. I don't give to the needy. I'm the needy. But I don't take from them either. That's just bad manners.
Fantastic. So Val, your prey predominantly are the people that you serve as a line cook, like you said, in the North Ward and the Trades Ward. You don't go down into the Dock Ward. You don't go down into maybe even South Ward or places like that where the working class exists. You prey predominantly on the middle and upper middle.
That's exactly it. I spy on them as they spill their secrets unwittingly. When they want to buy a cup of coffee or whatever, I'll make small talk, chit chat. I'll learn the details about their husband. What's the gossip, and then I bend that to my advantage.
So you're kind of like a Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm like Jessica Jones meets Elliot from Leverage.
I love that. Oh, this is good. Yeah.
Yes.
So Val, when you go on the hunt, then you like to haunt these places where you believe, and it's your knowledge and your, whether it was foresight and now experience, that these coffee shops and these kind of places of upper middle leisure, these bookstores and things of that nature, that's your hunting ground. That's where you can find the information about. Perfect.
And I blend in pretty well too. Val is a half orc. But he actually looks fairly human. He has kind of this sort of light gray cast to his skin. He doesn't have the tusks, or he hides it really well. And the only thing that really gives him away is that his eyes, his irises, are this sort of dull red. They look like orcish eyes. The rest of him, even if he's kind of greasy and unwashed, is very, very human.
Very good. Very good. Okay, I will come back to that. And also for Will, I forgot to say, we'll spin back around and get these, as I want to see why everybody's in Waterdeep first. But I can already pretty much see what Val's are going to be. But any type of mannerisms or tells that wouldn't necessarily give a person like Val away, who has gotten used to kind of cloaking himself in the facade of a friendly face, but something that maybe in the privacy or among friends would be something that, upon seeing Val for whom he really was, or with his guard down, might be a mannerism or characteristic that could be picked upon, or could be at least gleaned from more frequent observation. Will, with Graham, it's probably going to be more of an outward thing. He has the way that you've described him, it doesn't sound like he's got a good poker face, so it might be the exact opposite of what we would see in Val as a seasoned kind of.
Yeah, I think he is the the ingenue, but also he's got that potential to turn really dark in the story. I think because he's clever, he's like smart in some ways, some in other ways. But I think with Edmure and maybe Val's influence, we could see him taking a bit of a layer cake sort of route and ending up at the end turning pretty bad. But I think at his core, he's trying to be a good person for now.
Right. And the way you described him, as you were describing him, I thought he is going to sponge up whatever is in his orbit. And as soon as James started describing Val, I'm thinking this is going to go bad. This is going to go real bad. But let's not. Right. We've only dealt with half the party so far. So let's see if maybe there are some redeeming positive characteristics being brought to the City of Splendors as we go. And now we're going to check on our other remaining two characters and see why are Morwen and why are Ruva here.
Hey, Ruby, you want to go?
She's going to beat you up for that. So Ruva is a Tabaxi barbarian, and she actually used to be part of the militia in her original clan, which is on an island. She's from the Thunder Tree clan. So yes, if you're looking for a Thundercat, this is her. The Thunder Tree clan is essentially a clan of seafaring Tabaxi who all reconvene back at this giant lightning-struck burnt tree. And they often venture from afar, and then they come back, often discovering little bits and pieces along the way. They love to, discover shipwrecks, and Ruva has taken that to a new level. She wanted to go even further and discover things from other places, other islands, and she essentially departed on this trip with her sister-in-arms, who eventually decided to find her way back, but she landed in Waterdeep, basically picked a direction and went for it. And she landed there in Waterdeep, and now she's wandering the streets, kind of figuring out where to go next. So anything that really piques her fancy, she's like, well, like a cat would be. She's very curious, so she decided to stumble into this tavern and hang out for a little bit and see what is going to show up.
Fantastic. So at the heart of all of this, though, is an almost competitive need that when the time comes to reconvene at the lightning struck tree and stories are shared, that Ruva has a good one. Not just a good one, but the best one? Is that what she's looking for? She wants to bring something new?
She does want to bring something back very well. Also, thank you for the sub, Ivory. But no, so she wants to bring back something very valuable, but she also recognizes that when taking things, you have to be very careful because some things may come and try to find whatever you took. So she wants to bring something back that is pretty amazing, but also not going to endanger her her family and her tribe.
Great, great. So an item of wonder brought back to the tribe that isn't dangerous. I'm sure something like that can be found in the City of Splendors. Mm-hmm. Okay, as we move away from Ruva, then let's you be thinking about any type of mannerisms or outward type of physicality that might lend us more of a visual for Ruva, as we've asked some of the others. And we're going to finally go to Morwen as we see what our Triton, or why our Triton, has arrived in Waterdeep.
So Morwen grew up in quite a small settlement, and was always told that Triton were the best. The people were the best. Anybody who spoke primordial were above anybody else. And then one day she started to find bottles with parchment inside that talked about cities and scapes that she'd never even heard of, that she'd never even thought about. And so she started to hoard them in books. She started to make envelopes and things to keep all these letters safe. People's wishes, people's dreams, she collected them. And she began to sort of make journals for herself and write as much as possible in any way that was possible. She'd keep notes on everything. And eventually a sickness started to befall her little settlement. But it was a sickness she'd heard of before in the notes that she'd collected. And almost like magic, she knew how to correct it. And trying to convince her elders, trying to convince the people that actually this cure had come from outside the Triton was almost impossible. So Morwen is now on a quest to gather as much information as she possibly can to prove that maybe there's more out there than just her people. Maybe there's more things to see than just the seafloor, right? She's a manic scribbler. If she can draw a map of somewhere, she'll draw a map of somewhere. If she can write something down, she'll write something down. Give her 2 minutes to please just take a scraping of this wall into a tiny bottle, or brush this leaf into a book and jam it down tight. She currently is paying her way around the place by singing awful pretentious nonsense in various coffee shops about the place. Typical sirens, right? Hey, can I have a little bit of coin, and I'm going to wander off and go grab this thing that I really want from over here. Don't look, it's fine. I'm just going to go grab this thing from over here that I really like. Cool, thanks. So yeah, she's a hoarder, she's a collector, and she's most definitely a scribbler. But she's definitely trying to find some information, as much information as she can gather, to maybe prove to her people that they should look a little bit further afield.
Fantastic. I really, really like that idea. So, for my own clarification, was she able to convince the elders that the notes that she found, is the sickness ongoing, and is this part of her quest to, or did she cure that?
So the sickness has been resolved. Yeah, the sickness has absolutely been resolved. But her entire settlement thinks that the cure came from her. She's back home heralded as a hero because she cured this sickness. Now, whether the cure came to her in a vision or whether the cure was inside her all along, the stories all kind of differ depending on who you ask. But she knows that it didn't come from her, and no matter how often she tries to explain it, they're just not interested.
Okay, so how did, when it came time for her to launch on this type of like a vision quest, to go out and find these things to kind of prove that there is more to be seen beyond the confines of her current community, is this something, did she have to sneak away? If she's somebody that was able to, whether by divine influence or birthright or genetics or a dream or a vision or a prophecy, was able to cure this terrible sickness, did her community, were they aware of her decision to leave, or is this something that she just did?
No, she's just gone. She's absolutely taken as little as possible with her. Some bits of paper, a couple of seals, and a little bit of ink, and she's gone. She's picked up some instruments on her way to where she is now, but no, this is entirely in secret. She's hoping that she can go back and, make a big thing about how there's this big wide world that the Triton should care about. But at the moment, Triton just want to be Triton,
Tritons being Tritons. Yep. Okay, that's fantastic. I love it. Let's do this. Now, since we have an established cause for why Morwen is there, why Ruva is there, why we have our scholar and our drug addict there, and why we have our tough there, the question that I would then ask is, have any of you, now this is especially true for the visitors that are coming in Ruva and Morwen, have any of you come across one another previously? Now, I would think that as a DM and just kind of overviewing everything that you guys have said, if anybody would have bumped into somebody at this point, it probably would have been Val, who would have at least seen or heard of Edmure, or recently been able to see that Graham had kind of been floating around him as well, just because of his intimacy with the streets of the Dock Ward and maybe the poorer districts, but also, with the Trades Ward and going further into the North Ward. But do you guys have any ideas about that? I know that we have the Graham and the Edmure connection. Anything beyond that where you guys might have known one another?
Well, not to put too fine a point on it, but if any of these people look like they're overflowing with cash, I mean, they've been considered as a target. If they've come into a place where I'm working, then I've looked them over and I've given them some talk, and I've done my due diligence. And I think all of these people are not on the list, right? I've looked them over, and I think that either they've got a good enough heart, or that they're not worth pursuing financially. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm glad I've gotten to know you. Maybe maybe I'll have some conversation with you when you come and you get your chicken wing. But other than that, carry on.
Okay, so I would say Val probably has definitely at least met Morwen, because if he's frequenting these coffee shops and things of that nature, she would probably buy her admission of having to sing for her supper. She's probably there performing for the very same people that Val is preying upon. So if there was a kind of I'm not sure, and I'm not, obviously this is just me putting you guys in proximity and deciding whether or not your characters would have done something like this, is Val capable of having not a friendship, but an accord, perhaps is a better word, where he recognizes that there is a symbiosis between somebody that has to work for these people that he can't stand, and perhaps, as Morwen has kind of, by her narrative, taken a little bit here, taken a little bit there, that there's something that maybe Val even would have noticed and approved of, as it's a smaller reflection of what he's doing on a more brutal scale.
Absolutely, and friendship isn't out of the question either. I want to bump it into Morwen's court. Do you think that we've traveled in the same circles long enough that we're, if not like tight friends, then we're pals?
Yeah, I'd say we probably are. I imagine that you have seen me working, and then at some point you've seen me take a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been small enough
have we
looked.
done cons together?
Oh, let's do crimes!
Yeah. Let's do crime together.
Yes, let's do crimes! I'm so excited. Oh.
Okay. We've probably only done like one or two little things. Like maybe you've distracted a guy, and I've picked his pocket, and then we've cut it in half later.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Awesome.
And I'm the sort of person, though, I feel, who's constantly like, hey, you want to go again? Hey, that was good. You want to go again? Hey, you want to go again? And it's kind of like, it's sort of cute and sort of annoying all in the same breath, because I'm not sure where to stop. So you're kind of teaching me where it is to stop. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and he is very, very blunt about where to stop. He's not like, oh, maybe next week. He's like, not now.
Oh.
Talk to me later.
Oh.
So what do you think? I think we've probably done like two things, two cons together.
Yeah. Just little bits and pieces. Like I run a 3-cup gamble, and you're like, no, it's cute. Let's teach you how to do that properly. like it's good. Yeah, I like it.
Awesome.
Okay, so Morwen's not that great with it, but she loves doing it. Val is more seasoned and would Val see her as an apprentice, partner, or an asset? Are these cons that require 2 people, and he's identified someone that can play the 2 strangers walk into a tavern type of con, or is this something that has, in his mind, and this is not something that you have to admit, you can send it to me in secret if you want, does he view her as an asset or view her beyond that? Like you said, friendship is not out of the question. Is it on the table, though, at this point in the relationship?
Don't break my heart.
He's not so callous as to consider her an asset, but he's also not so noble as to consider her an apprentice. He's not a teaching kind of guy. So new partnership, right? Like, if this doesn't work out, he's not going to lose sleep over it. But he likes running these things with other people.
Fantastic. Okay. So I have one question, and I can stick with you guys, or I'll bounce back to you. The first person that prompted this, you guys both touched on, it was a diversion and then a pickpocket, and you split the money. This first person, I want to know who the first person was. Was it an asshole on the street?
Target?
Was it the first target? Who pushed this relationship to where maybe you two had been kind of in your orbits and things like that, to, we got to take this guy out for this reason? And that's the reason I'd like to know that brought the two of you ultimately together. Now, like I said, I'll jump back if you guys want to chat about it in our player chat here. But as we go over, I want to talk to Ruva too. Ruva, you are here with a goal and a purpose in the City of Splendors. Once again, with anybody that's here on the screen, can you see Ruva being brought into the proximity of any of them? You have street level people with Graham and Edmure. You have the performer when it comes to the Triton with Morwen, and then you've got this kind of anti-Batman that's running around in Val. who is robbing from the rich and giving to himself. Can you see any time when you would have? Does Ruva, would she come across as being a potential target for Val? Would she come across as being sympathetic if she would see Edmure on the street kind of strung out and laying there? Maybe people had thrown coppers at him. Is there anything that would have, you could see your character kind of just bumping into somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, for a start, I think that Ruva might have at least heard of whatever Triton group that what is it? What's your character's name? Merida?
Morwen?
Yeah.
They're deep in thought about
Morwen,
their target.
sorry, yes.
Sorry, I'm sort of like typing away about crimes. Like, oh, sorry, do you want me? Hello?
No, sorry. I think she probably would have heard. She probably would have heard of the Tritons. So, seeing a Triton on land probably would have struck her as kind of odd, and she probably would have gotten to know her a little bit because, yes, she Ruva plays an instrument as well, albeit not very well, and would probably be very attracted to someone or interested in someone who, comes from a similar background as she does. Like, she comes from the sea, from an island. Seeing someone that also comes from the sea would be something that she'd really kind of latch onto. But Ruva is a fairly good person at heart, and she doesn't necessarily she doesn't steal or anything unless it's for a good cause. And she probably would have seen Edmure on the street, and if he were in a tough place or maybe being shaken down by his landlord or something, she probably would have stepped in and kind of put up a big beefy wall between Edmure and whoever was coming at him. So she is a defender of the weak and the people who are smaller and who probably don't deserve to get completely beat up. So she'd definitely be there as a person to help out when, someone who is in need would need help.
I can see Graham latching onto a person like this because he doesn't have a particularly, he's like a kid just out of university in a scary new city, and he's kind of just probably looking for any kind of leadership or any kind of sort of direction from someone, like a moral compass. And while he thought maybe Edmure was that, if there's someone around who's like, hey kid, don't worry, like, I'll help you, he would, I think, be very sort of drawn to someone with like not just like a strong personality, but like a strong sense of like right and wrong, some kind of direction. So I could see him like always talking to Edmure about when we're gonna see, like almost like a kid, like when are we gonna go around to Ruva's house, right? Like, he's like always excited to see her and to see what she like has done recently, or like to hear more about her like mission, which he doesn't really understand a great deal, but like he'd love to be able to help her somehow. He doesn't really know how, but like he would get a lot out from being helpful to her, which may not be what Edmure cares about or wants, but like
no.
It could
he
be
probably would tag along.
Like, right. Edmure maybe like uses, if I have a good relationship with Ruva, it could be possible that like Edmure uses that relationship to like get money out of Ruva.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, maybe not very successful.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Maybe this time
probably
she'll
a swift kick to the behind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I go to Ruva and I'm like, Edmure really needs this like new pair of shoes and these drugs,
Does he really? Why don't you send Edmure to me?
The shoes. Yeah, right.
He's really busy right now. He's
right
with some friends in this side alley.
Hey, Graham, you go inside. You go inside and talk to her. I'm gonna stay out here. I'm gonna stay right here. You go in. You talk to her. I'll be right here. And it's
Okay,
just-
I'll talk to
he's
her.
just
You know,
like,
like
You're
he's like
really-
really keen to talk about her. Like there's
Yeah.
like 5 talking points that he wants to talk to her about, and then like also Edmund's point that he will bring up. Because he like feels some
Don't
kind
forget
of
about the
falsely, sense of like loyalty to this person who's probably quite bad to him.
Every time
Okay, so
I
you
feel
wanna-
like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go, you guys go.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, every time Graham comes in and mentions something that, Edmer wants this or whatever, I'd probably pick Graham up by the scruff, kind of bring him outside to see Edmer, and just be like, "You tell me what you told him to tell me," and set him down. Like, basically, I don't like.
Yeah.
I'd be like, "You can't
Remember that
go
new set of shoes you
or
need,
child."
Edna? You need a lot of
Yeah,
shoes.
they should. Did he mention the shoes? They're really good. They're expensive.
It's like 4 pair of
So
shoes a
I'm-
week. He really
Yeah.
gets through them.
Yep. Hey, wear them right on.
Don't even need shoes. Ugh. Like, I'd go shoeless pretty much. Like, she's a cat person, so no shoes for this one. You're like, why do you need shoes? You don't need shoes. Look, you have perfectly good feet.
Beatles. Shoes. Yeah, there's just constant excuses of why he needs money, or maybe just a little coin this time. Just maybe like a little extra coin.
Right.
Yeah, just your crack addict friend. Just we all have him. The mooch friend who just needs it for crack. So yeah, we have right. Just me on that one. Anyway, so yeah, okay, all right.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's pretty much what he's all about. Yeah, he's just more about every thought for him is that drug that gives him power.
Right.
I feel like Ruva's ultimate goal with Edmer too would be to try to wane him off of the drug and get
absolutely.
him to like embrace a real strength, like from the militia that she grew up with, to
Oh, of course,
learn how
Inner
to
strength and
train,
stuff.
learn how to be disciplined, And
That'll
she
be
carries like this
God.
big harpoon too, right? So she'd probably just like throw the harpoon and be like, okay, drag it back now. Like just get him to try to sweat out the drug. But it doesn't work.
Yeah, we have to train. We got to be up at 6 a.m. so we can go
Yeah.
climb the mountain. No, it's disgusting.
I have a suggestion then for that. If that is in fact the route that Ruva is going to take with Edmure, this might be the reason why he's a level 1 blood hunter, why he has a little bit of ability and is not just a destitute drug addict. He's actually done a little bit, and now for whatever purposes he has ultimately, I'll become a friend, I'll do whatever.
Right.
That's completely up to you, Myth, but I'm saying that might be the reason why he at least has this beginning of ability that is beyond
Little bit of
just
training.
natural talent. Right. He has a talent that
yeah.
goes beyond that. So. The other thing I wanted to say is I think it's fantastic that we are like 23 minutes from saying, boy, wouldn't it be nice if Graham had some type of counterbalance where it would be a good versus evil type of. Well, we immediately got one in here, and so I like that a whole bunch. Now, I have 2 questions, and they can be obviously answered anyway. How does
I'm going to answer mine in
Graham-
song.
good? That sounds great.
Okay.
Oh,
I would
no.
expect nothing less.
Oh, no.
Graham, how does Graham truly feel about Ruva? Is this, you're saying, when can we go see Ruva? Is this a fascination born of friendship, or is this something where there is affection built into it? Because as you're building the narrative that will become the foundation of Graham, this is a very important fact. Is this something that is he latching
I
on
think-
romantically, or?
I think it's more of a puppy-eyed sort of. He loves her, but he's not in love with her, right? Like he thinks she's great, but like he doesn't really have any kind of, like there's
That's
no
the idea of her.
Yeah. He's like, she's so great and she's so fun, but like I don't think he's like thinking like, oh, like I love her, like he thinks she's great, but he also thinks Edmund's great. That's the problem. I think he probably only sees the best in a lot of people. He's like yeah, got a kind of puppy dog sort of like doe-eyed look around a lot of people, but yeah, I think he at this point just is like, oh, she's so great, and like we're gonna hang out all the time, and like we're gonna go and like go down bowling and Waterdeep, and we're like, oh, it's gonna be great. Like more like a big sister kind of thing, I think maybe, or like a best friend.
You cast friend
like,
zone
in his mind,
as
we're best
a
friends.
cantrip.
Like with
That was my point exactly. That was my point, to see if this was an interest born of reciprocation, where he's and she seems to have an interest in you to the point where she's making sure that you're not running drugs or anything for Edmure. Awesome.
Right, I could see Ruva like caring about him enough as a friend to be like, hey, don't follow this awful person, Edmure, down this terrible line, because like you're sweet, but like it's he's so easily led that I think Ruva could see that he's probably savable, whereas Edmure's like quite an uphill struggle. Whereas Graham just needs some like direction and steering, and he'll probably be a good person.
Fantastic. Okay, so that was my first question, and with that answer, I will now ask Ruva this. If that is in fact the relationship that Ruva has with Graham, that she's, has a genuine interest in his well-being, would you agree that that's the way that Will described it? Is that reciprocated by Ruva, or does she feel differently for Graham?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Ruva is much more attracted to like people who demonstrate a lot of physical strength, because that's the realm that she grew up in, where strength and physical prowess is much more important to her from an attractiveness standpoint. But she probably regards Will as, like a little brother, or, like your little brother's best friend that you kind of have around all the time.
That's what I was thinking as well, right? Yeah. Like, he goes over to see, like, his best friend, but, like, the big sister's there, and, like, he thinks she's so cool because she's older. And she, like, does
play video games
people,
or something.
Like, all the kid stuff. Yeah. Like, she can play 18-plus video games, and he thinks that's awesome, right?
You have a sword.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah. So she probably sees that, and probably like sees a little bit of like the smaller like members of her clan kind of like in Graham, and so she kind of has taken him under her wing as, a close friend. Where Edmure needs a little bit more tough love, Graham is a little bit more of a softer kind of guidance that she can probably provide.
Okay, fantastic. And with that clarification, then I will ask the follow-up question that you can either answer to me or DM to me. If that is how she feels about Graham, then is her interaction with Edmure in the training, is that for him or for Graham? Are you trying to save Graham through trying to cure Edmure, or do you actually care for the drug addict?
Like, side note, I think that Graham thinks that Edmure is like his uncle. I think they've probably been here long enough where he like sees him as like, he's like Fagin, right? And he's fucking, like,
absolutely.
He's like in deep in this whole scenario now. Yeah.
I'm gonna DM you that. I'm gonna DM you that.
Yeah, send me on Twitter, and we will just put that into the files. And as I saw Furious typing, and I'd stopped looking because I want to be surprised whenever it's said, I will go back to the partners, the newly formed and newly minted dynamic duo of crime, and see exactly what Val and Morwin, who was this person that was the first mark, the first target, the first person to bring together this grouping.
So I think so Val and I had been kind of noticing each other, and the fact that we were both like looking for the same sorts of things, but we hadn't spoken until in one of the places that he works and I happened to be working in. Val notices suddenly that there's a waitress being harassed, and I see it. And we both kind of look, and we look at this waitress, and Morwin knows that she's got to step in. She absolutely knows. So she does the thing where she bumps into this guy, and is like, "Hey, excuse you, did you just touch me? Are you kidding? Oh, you get that whole deal."
And then I come over, and as this guy is floundering, he's trying to, he's a jerk, but he's trying to get his bearings. He's been surprised. I grab him by the shoulder, I turn him around, and I say, "Are you bothering this nice young lady here?" And while I'm doing that,
I can grab whatever coins he's got going. I can grab whatever valuable stuff is in his pockets, and we can send the guy on his way. We're doing crimes.
we're doing crimes.
Oh no.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so it was the swooping in and the saving of this waitress that not saving, but coming to her support in this kind of harassment that she was experiencing. And then you guys came up and were able to kind of add some retribution to, and you said it was a guy, right? It was a man that had been harassing her. What, by his dress, upper class? Middle class?
Upper
I know,
class.
I know Val's. Okay, upper class. Cool. And how much did you get?
Oh, that's a good question. I think between the two of us, like this is a pretty big deal. Like this is a big enough deal for us to consider working together again, right? I'll bet between the two of us, we got some 200 gold out of that wallet, and we split it.
Okay,
so
mine was
we
only
each got 100.
Mine was only 80, but also a letter opener, or a form, or something equally ridiculous. Probably 80 and a letter opener or something
And a wooden spool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got something like 80
and a
and
hopper.
his pocket watch. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And it was just enough. Well, I mean, that's a sizable amount to be able to grift off somebody. But it was enough where things went smoothly that you said you've done it at least one more time, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're counting down from the day that the campaign starts and reversing time, how long has it been since the first job, the second job, until now? Was the last job a week ago? Was the first job 6 months ago?
I bet that this all happened within the last month.
Yeah, I was going to say
our
the
most
first one was
recent
about a month ago, and then our next one was about a week and a half ago, and now we're a week and a half later. Because you could bet that Morwen's been trying to find work where she knows Val has been finding work, being like, hey, you wanna do the thing? There's this guy, and he's just walked out, and we can just go really quickly. Take a break. It'll be fine. We can just go.
Yeah. And sometimes like a week and a half ago, I'll be like, that guy, yes, I'm on him. But recently things have been kind of slow. I've been like, cool your jets. You do this too much, you're gonna get us both in trouble.
But I don't know any better. So
yeah. You're feeling out the game because you're not from the big city. Even if you've been here a little while, you don't. Yeah.
No, it's amazing. Everybody walks around and carries things. Look at the things that they carry.
Yeah.
Why is that man wearing a hat? Just endlessly that.
Yep. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I like the idea too that the hunting grounds is kind of being cordoned off by Val. We can't constantly do this. You can't prune the garden every day or we're going to get in trouble. So I very, very much like the pseudo instruction that's being given here, in addition to the roguish nobility that is inherent in this particular breed that is being hunted. Yeah. Okay, so my last questions as I go back around and we see how we want to breed this back out is to Edmure. Edmure, what's the goal here?
Yeah. What's the goal?
Mm-hmm.
Heist all the dragons, The goal is to The goal is to be happy. And his happiness right now is fueled by what he thinks is happiness, and that is the high that he gets from the drug. And unfortunately, like most addicts, that is the only thing that's really plaguing his mind is the money to get the drugs, the things to trade in to get the money to get the drugs, how to get the drugs, the contacts of who can get the drugs, how to keep this blood magic going, and how to actually live as what he thinks is not a drug addict, what he thinks is just a person who is becoming more powerful and doing things that he wouldn't be able to do without the concoction, the drug, the blood magic, because to him it is what's giving him success. It's the most successful thing in his mind that he has done, regardless of being on stage, regardless of making people happy and making people laugh. This right now to him is what is keeping him, unfortunately, the illusion of happiness, which is dark, but that's where he is.
The pursuit of happiness.
Right. And as he just like, because in his mind he's living life the way he wants, but to everybody else onlooking, he's kind of clouded on the streets as this lost drug addict. And that is of course why Ruva would of course see this and try to come in and help, because having that seeing that and knowing that there is something not quite something that's like an obstacle in his life, but of course he sees it fine, because that is of course, like I said, is what's giving him this new power. He's never had this power before. He's never won a fight before, but because of the training from Ruva, he's been able to actually withstand a couple of maybe burglaries or holdups out in the back alleys and things like that. And he has Ruva to thank, but he also doesn't really see Ruva being the trainer for this. He still sees it as it's the drug that gave him the power to do so, not the mental mind or the mental training or the physical training that he has done every so often, or the sword that Ruva probably bought for him, even though he wasn't very happy about that because he just wanted the money so he could actually, have drugs. But it was probably a protection thing that maybe Ruva bought him a sword, and maybe he and now is training with it, and he now has studded leather armor, and I'm not quite sure where we found that, but we could in session 0 we can always figure out where that came from. But
let me ask you a question real quick, Myth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the sword that Ruva bought for you. Do you still have it?
Yeah. He still has it. He
kept it.
He kept it. Yeah, he uses it because he's won a couple fights. Not to like power game onto or to be like Ruva did this, but I'm hoping that's okay with you, Ruva.
I wonder if I could have made it.
There we go. Yeah.
Like a whale bone or something, because
Absolutely.
that feels
That'd be sick.
very natural for
Great.
Ruva.
Yeah.
So she probably would have found an old whalebone or something in the piers and whittled it down to something like a serrated, very primitive looking weapon bound with leather around the hilt just so it's a little bit more comfortable, and then given it to Edmure as a kind of gift in saying, okay, well, you've completed at least a bit of the training that we've kind of done together. The least you can do is defend
Quest
yourself
reward.
with this. Yeah, there you
Absolutely,
go. Quest
yeah.
reward.
Yeah. He sees it, of course, as like, yeah, okay, I'll keep you happy and I'll keep this on me. And in that, of course, like probably later that day after you gave it to him, or of such, maybe later in the week. Maybe there was, like I said, he was held up in the back alley. Someone tried to rob him, and he was able to defend himself and cut the guy down and flee. And he didn't realize how much that gift really meant until he needed it. Being, of course, of blood magic, it was easy for the porous and the marrow of this whalebone to take the magic that he is imbued with way easier than metal would. So that works perfectly fine. Yeah, and he still keeps it because it was more of a utility as a deterrent rather than it was a memento of good faith or honor or something like that. Like I said, he's very one track.
I think this weapon is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So I like somewhat consider myself a squire. So I like if you know I like clean it and stuff just so I can like touch it and be like, wow, you know, like this is Ruva's sword. Like, do you know how cool this is, sort of thing? And you're like, yeah, well, it's it's the sword.
And he doesn't.
Has anyone ever seen the movie
or anything?
That's fine.
Right. Did anyone ever see the movie The Fisher King with Robin Williams? He was a homeless person that thought he was a knight. It's a fantastic. All I'm seeing coming off of Myth's character is this like homeless guy who has these. Okay, here's the question I have for Graham. Graham, if you are the squire of Sir Edmure, as he has been bestowed this fantastic weapon, this handcrafted, beautiful weapon in its savagery by Ruva, would he have tried to use any of his alchemy? Because this is basically just large scrimshaw at this point. To give it some extra strength, maybe kind of imbuing the bone with a kind of a harder resin or something of that nature. Would he?
Greg, no!
Oh no!
No, our man.
Would he? What?
Would he?
What do you want?
There he is. Oh,
Sorry, I'm back out of we're having terrible thunderstorms and my internet is acting very strange. I very much apologize. I was going to say, would he have had the courage to be able to do something with this weapon that was given from someone he respects so much in Ruva to someone he respects so much in Edmure? Would he have dared to try the skills that have failed him so much in the past to add just a little bit of himself to this weapon, this relationship type of thing?
What was the question? Wait, was this to me or was this to Edmure?
that was you.
That
was
was
you.
great.
I totally, oh man. Like,
Now you're playing like I do.
Did you cut out and then you were like, okay, I understand the question now. Absolutely I have.
Sure.
Like, while I may not be like a very good alchemist, let's say like he does have like a kind of artistic streak in him, where he's probably like, it's probably a thing where he like would have taken liberal arts, but like his parents made him take science, and he's really bad at alchemy, but like he's kind of an artist and like paints in his like spare time. Let's go with that. Yeah, he's like totally he loves his artwork. Probably hangs out at the local gallery.
dragonborn of mine does art.
Are you just describing my actual life? Like, I feel personally. I just came here to have a good time, and I'm feeling personally attacked right now.
I think like he like side quest not only for Graham is to now to make a potion, like make his dad proud and like actually make a healing potion, because that's the only way his family will be proud of him and like send it home. Secondly is to get one of his like submissions into the local Waterdeep art gallery. Like he just wants one of his pieces up in the gallery. And it's probably like a super bad environment he's working in, like this drug den where he's like trying to paint his little acrylics, murdering away these thugs. But like, yeah, he's definitely like he's gone to Edmure's weapon from Ruva, and he's probably like painted it in this like really cool sort of barbarian inspired runes that he's like done a little bit of research on like patterns and stuff, and he's like, Ruva would like this sort of pattern, like I see she has like tattoos like this, and he sort of painted it onto your weapon, and Edmund's like, yeah, whatever, sure.
I love that. Oh.
Everybody's so nice and kind, and then Edmure's just a dick. Love it. It's so good.
Edmure, the grumpy man, just bonk him with the harpoon.
Everything's fine. I'm a nice guy. I just don't care, really.
Okay, so one of my final questions for Edmure, have you done anything? There's no definition of a sliding scale here, but what's the worst thing worst thing that Edmure has done to get his drugs. And we can have everybody take off their headphones if you have something secrety you want to just tell me and the trickster gods of chat, or...
Let's have chat think of it. Chat, I'm calling on you. Make this bad. What has the drug addict Edmure? What has he done to get his drug?
Immediately. Shanked a nun.
Shanked a
Good
nun.
job, chat.
Oh, that's perfect.
Good job.
That's a good
Shanked a
one. That's
nun.
great.
Let's just get let's just get a confession as to what
Prostitution's
he's
not
done.
that
Yeah.
bad.
That's amateur.
No,
Get
it's
some-
not bad. I mean, I guess
You gotta get
Depends what-
creative.
Not
This
that
guy. Like, think
bad.
of like
Murder Man.
worst
Moida.
gross figure.
Murders. I mean, we're gonna be doing a lot of like. Then I'm playing D&D. I'd be a murder hobo, and that's exactly what we're gonna be doing because it's D&D. How about not murder? Tax
You
evasion. Oh,
sold
perfect.
a child.
Pooped on a baby.
Yeah, how about that? Sold a child. I was thinking something with a child, but I didn't want to do murder a child. Yeah, how about that? Yeah,
with a child.
I was like, murder a kid?
Committed, but it was definitely with a
stole the
child. Like,
from the kid. No, I love it. Blown a gif. Perfect. No, yeah, I think dug up a corpse is good too. Ooh. How about he sold a kid into trafficking, and for the money, like horrible. Like, wow, that's horrible. And he did it, but
You could have dug up the corpse of a child.
Are you gonna?
5 minutes ago, I was going to be like, no, I love this team so much. I'm going to hold it back now. I'm not going to say it anymore.
I mean, there's character development. He can change, but right now he's kind of a dick.
I'm working on it.
He's
Okay?
not happy with it. Yeah, he's not happy that he did it. He just had to at the time.
Okay.
Oh wow! Look at everybody.
So
you
what is the final
Sold a
consensus?
child. Is that what you're going
Yeah.
with?
Yep, sold a child into slavery, so I can then have the money to buy some drugs. Very little amount
How
of
old
drugs.
was-
I'm not saying he's
How old was the
good. I should
child?
probably just change his alignment. 11. The kid had a family.
Had a family.
Kid
Wasn't a
was
street
11.
urchin.
Yep. Nope.
I can tell you for a fact if Ruva finds that out, she will beat your ass.
Yeah, it's
Like straight up.
it's 50-50 if we figure this out.
Yeah,
it's like
that's,
we're
that's not going
maybe
to
a
be
little bit bad, but that's just evil. Like that's you're evil.
What's your
I saw
alignment
that
again?
happen. What did you
Well, now it's evil. So, I mean, thank you, Session Zero, for making that. Neutral evil?
So you're like an addict.
It's
to the
more
point where,
chaotic
like,
neutral, but
You're like an addict to the
Yeah,
point
right.
where you would just do anything to get your next hit, sort of thing. Like
yeah.
completely.
That's where he is.
destructive.
He's at like
Right,
the
right,
lowest
he's like
point
rock bottom.
in his life.
Right.
Yeah, and also level 1. So, I mean, as development happens, we'll see where it goes. But is this going to also be a redemption story? Maybe for Edmure. We'll see. Find out. Here.
Okay.
Every month.
Oh, we'll
I have
just leave him
so
for
many
dead.
Edmure becomes a person.
Nobody's perfect.
Or stays the monster. Or if the PCs kill him and I have to make someone else. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no promises on my end. Just saying. Just
Ryan would never hurt you.
Sweet.
Okay, I have a question. If he has
I have
done
an
this
answer.
before to an 11-year-old,
You should
the
rephrase
original
that.
relationship, the original relationship with Graham. Graham's not that old. He just kind of flunked out from uni.
Yes.
Was that ever a thought that this might
Yes.
be a potential
It's
ticket to
subconscious
cash in?
guilt.
Oh man,
No.
I'm like your backup plan. Am I like you're like if all goes wrong, I'm just gonna fucking
Keep-
sell Graham.
Sell this kid.
Like while he's useful, like you're
Yeah.
fucking Fagin, but like kind of worse.
Right. Wait, well, yeah, but that's the bad possibility. But the good possibility is, depending upon how long ago this happened with the 11-year-old and the age that Graham currently is, just kind of taking into consideration the
Right.
growth of not knowing the race of the other child. But would this be a way like, the kid that I sold would probably be right around Graham's age right now. And this is a almost subconscious way to kind of like.
I kind of like that as well. Like it probably like that is like that act of like evil. If you're a drug addict, like you've got like that's like rock bottom low, but then you're gonna feel terrible about having done it when you're not on the drugs, right? So he must have some kind of conscience, and it's like
I think he does hang out with Graham and puts up with Graham because in his mind he puts up with Graham, but he does that because he sees Graham does admire him, and he is like he wants to show reason for him to admire him, but he still can't get over the fact that he had done this once before. So I still think that it's a subconscious guilt of the fact is.
I remind you of the thing as well.
Yeah, you remind me of what could have been with that kid. I could have just let that kid grow up. I could have just not done that. But since you are about, like, he thought of it a couple times probably to sell or to do the same thing with Graham, but as Graham kept coming back, he kept showing a little more admiration towards Edmer, and then Edmer just can't do that again. He still feels awful about it. He's never spoken about it. He's probably undergone some changes since then because of the drugs, because the drugs are swelling his face and scarring him from under the skin. And so yeah, he probably still holds. So he's not like pure evil. There's still like he has done an evil thing. He won't do that sort of thing again. And what's keeping him from doing that is that constant reminder of innocent old Graham. And I think that's probably the redemption quality of me not being probably neutral evil, probably still chaotic neutral, because I would do something evil, but I wouldn't do it again. You know what I mean?
Right. This is super fucked up, and the worst relationship you could possibly be in right now with Graham.
And Graham's bought it like hook, line, and sinker. Like he's just totally invested in it.
Well, I think there is, like, you know, I would like to think that there probably is some kindness that Edmer has shown to him before, despite like on a day-to-day basis being not a good friend to him. Like he is kind to him, you know, and has taken him in a little bit, because Graham is a little bit of a, you know, lost puppy. So yeah, it is that kind of Fagin thing where it's like, yeah, you've given me food and shelter and kind of looked after me a bit, but also you're terrible. You're right. I just don't see it.
You're a piece of shit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're a piece of shit.
Yeah. But that's exactly
And Ruver is what, Nancy? Was that her name? Yeah, it's all working out. It's all working out.
It's all working out. And the city
it's
itself,
awful. Everything about this is awful, and I love it. Okay, so with the company placed as it would be in the City of Splendors, I now will ask the company to place themselves a bit further. In the trades ward, there is one of the despised coffee houses that Val has come to prey upon. His inclusion there, as Morwin's, would be easy enough to explain. It is a place called London's Fog. The placard on the outside is a cup of steaming beverage, and inside the steam is the cityscape of Waterdeep. Inside this place is a performance hall. It is a tea house, a coffee house. They also have alcohol for sale, but it is decidedly not a tavern, as this place is more a home to students and philosophers and artisans as they go there to drink and think and do the things that people with wealth are allowed to do in these times in the City of Splendors. So I will ask you all, even Val and Morwin, what would bring you all on this particular day to London's Fog?
Say crime. Say crime.
Rhymes.
Okay, idea flowing for you, Myth. Maybe you're going to pick up some drugs, and like I'm going with you. It's a coffee house, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, you're muted, buddy. There you go.
Yeah.
I wonder.
I think that is brilliant.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just gonna. Okay, Graham. I wonder if I would have brought Graham there almost as like a treat.
Oh,
You know,
you're taking
like,
him out for like,
like bring him out, being like, oh, maybe you'll like this place. Like this is a
Right,
place
right.
that maybe you'll enjoy, and like just kind of
it's
start
kind of
walking in there.
artsy. Yeah.
Like, it's
Did you
philosophers
tell
and
Edmure?
thinking.
When you say London's fog? Oh, yeah, all right. I could probably change my plans.
That's what I'm asking. If you're taking him there as a treat, Ruva, did you tell Edmure?
I probably would have not wanted to, but because Edmure is so around all the time, he probably would have overheard, and I would have brought him along, just kind of like.
Oh yeah, there's no way that unless you specifically told Graham not to, he wouldn't have like gushed about how we're going to some like art cafe, right?
No, well, hold on. No, I'm going to play this out because let's say that this was one of the many times that Graham was sent to Ruva for shoes for Edmure. And after it was done, Edmure's not waiting outside. He's waiting, a ward over or 6 blocks away. And there is that brief moment, and perhaps Ruva, you see that there's a window here to actually have a moment or some time with Graham. So I will give you guys this as far as you have a window where if you do not want Edmure around for this particular little interlude, you can go about your business.
What do you think?
I think it'd be
Graham?
funny. I think it'd be funny, like if like it's almost like a betrayal. Like the first time that like Ruva's managed to convince Graham to go somewhere and not tell Edmure about it, and it's like maybe a mini betrayal for Graham and Edmure's relationship, but Edmure shows up because he's there for for a drug deal and like sees us there.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, Graham.
I feel like, and then just
Right.
like,
Meet
see
somebody.
his face and be like,
Yeah, going pale. Like I've got like a piece of cake in my mouth and an art brush and another. My beret's on. All of a sudden in this cafe, and Edmure sees me like this.
Your beret. What the hell?
I'd probably be standing behind him, just like almost half like bodyguardish, and then just see Edmure and just like try to usher him away and not get there in time.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's
so
that
yeah, you
annoying
guys
friend
would be
who
there at
always
London's
shows up.
fog and get caught. Yeah, all right.
Anytime
Okay,
we
so-
try to do something away from Edmure, he's just there all the time. He's just there.
You pick up drugs.
He's like a rash that just won't go away. Like, it's just, oh.
Well, ask this as it seems the better way to do it. Edmure, if you let's say that we're going with the premise that there was a window there where you weren't around, or you didn't appear to be around when Ruva and Graham, did their thing and went to London's fog. Would he ever let Graham truly out of his sight, as this is like 100% his meal ticket when it comes to obtaining gold or running errands for him? Or, I mean, was he truly going to be like Fagin in that he always sort of knows where he is?
I don't know. I feel like there are times where he does kind of sneak off and such, but I feel like that is it's probably for the best, because there's still times that Edmure is like, oh good, he's not here, because he still kind of suffers from maybe the thought of could easily get good chunk of gold, a couple thousand gold for labor out of Graham. So every time he does wander off or loses sight of him, he's like, okay, that's actually good. I can have time, 1, for myself, and 2, so I don't do that again. So it's kind of like relieving when he goes off and disappears into
Is
the
he
streets,
also,
or
like a little
some nights where
jealous as well, or like anxious when he's away? He seems like super fucking conflicted, Edmer, about like the whole relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, he probably is a little bit. Yeah, he's probably a little bit anxious about when he is gone because he doesn't want anything bad to happen. But he's also happy that he is, because at any moment he could be taken away, because Edmer has proven that to himself, that at any point that can just happen. So it's for the best that he has his independence, because at any moment he may be forced to be independent. You know?
Fantastic. So that is how we will place everybody in London's fog, as we have the Triton Bard, who is there to perhaps perform and do a little crime. We have Val, the anti-Batman, that is there to punch face and steal coin from those that have enough to have it taken. And then we're going to have a field trip with Ruva and Graham, as he is given a beret in which to sit and paint and drink without the overbearing shadow of his foster uncle, Edmer.
Abusive foster uncle. It's the worst relationship.
Abusive foster uncle Edmer.
It's not a good one.
As we sit and we place everybody in there, there's no time to do any RP right now for this session. None that I'm already so very happy with how this group is shaped up, with how you guys have just dove into the backstory. I think that we should introduce the last character this tale, and that is Waterdeep herself. And as mentioned several times in here, Waterdeep is the city of splendors, the crown of the north. It is a city of dreams and magic. And much like the ley lines that flow through the land, carrying the weave with it, magicians and sorcerers across this great world will tap into the weave, and they will take small parts of it. They will say things and apply a drop of mercury or molasses. They will move their hands in such a way. And Waterdeep herself is just a city of magic. But instead of mercury or molasses, instead of hand waves and words, she weaves her spells quite differently. She has her components. She has what she says. Her city moves with several 100,000 beings, but her components are different. And you've just met them all, as Val and Morwen and Graham and Ruva and even Edmer become the mercury, become the molasses, as Waterdeep begins to cast her own spell. And as she says the words and does the movements, she creates not a spell, but something much more powerful, a tale. And that tale will begin next week.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Can we just play now? Should we do?
Let's just do it now.
Yeah, it's only 1 a.m. Let's go. Let's play.
Who needs to eat dinner? It's fine. We can keep going.
Not relevant when you can eat at a roleplay cafe, right? That's
Exactly. Listen, D&D sustains me. Okay.
Enrichment story.
Well, psychic energy beamed right into me.
Right.
Yes.
I'm excited now. I'm excited.
Yeah.
That is going to be an awesome game, I can tell. Next week at the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern. In fact, not the same time, technically. We started an hour later today, but I had a 40-hour stream. But at 5 p.m. Eastern every Monday. No excuses, you fucking slacker. But that's when we'll be playing the first episode next week, so definitely join us. You can catch up on YouTube, and now you'll be able to catch up on podcasts as well, because all of the shows are going up to a podcast feed. You can expect that launching in like 2 weeks' time, so that already has time to get everything together. Welcome in all the new subs and all new followers and everyone today. Don't go anywhere because, well, this has been fantastic. We've got another Session Zero coming up in just a few seconds for our new Game of Thrones role-playing show, the War of the Roses, so stick around for that. But let's go around to cast and crew. Fantastic job, everyone, on all of their characters. I love all of the connections already, and I'm super invested in everyone's stories, and I just want everyone to be happy and go home safe. But I know that won't be the case because of Greg's presence. But Greg, great job tonight. Let's start with you, my friend. How was that?
Oh man, I took so many notes. You guys have just blown me away with the
Oh
Oh no!
No!
I'm just he was so blown away. His internet literally got blown out.
His power
Just,
went out.
Exploded.
It's just like,
I hope he's all right.
Well,
it's all right.
what if something bad happened?
and that's how we all won D&D.
And that's a session.
Yeah.
That's it.
We won!
no!
That's how it's done.
Like,
We did well played, everybody.
There he is.
Hey, he's
Yeah.
back.
He was literally blown away.
Yeah. As I was saying, my internet tech's coming Wednesday morning to wire my house. So hopefully that all works out. I just say I was completely blown away by everything you guys did. I really, really loved it. I'm probably roboting. If I am, I apologize. I couldn't be happier with this. I have all of my notes. I can't wait till next week, and I won't be pixelated. Love you all, and see you then.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Greg. Came through perfectly there. Awesome. Pip. Same question.
Hi!
Hey.
What questions were they? I don't know, we had a big drummer in the
It's
middle
the
there
same
and
ones.
my brain's died.
Yeah, that's true. It's just the same one. So just whatever question you want to answer, you can answer. Did you enjoy yourself? Where can we find you online?
Oh my goodness, yes. I'm really excited now. I'm really glad I have a partner in crime. That's a little bit unexpected. I'm really glad to go out and do crimes and be cool. That's really cool. I'm really looking forward to. Is it next week yet? It's next week, right? We can go.
Right,
It's
it is.
next. Yep,
Correct.
Yep. Okay, good. I'm gonna.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Counter Roleplay. Welcome to Counter Roleplay.
But yeah, hi, my name's Pip. Tiny Pixels with 2 X's because 3 X's would be a different website. You can find me over on Twitch. I do variety. No, it's okay. I promise. I do variety streams 3 days a week, and also you can catch me on Twitter talking about how silly the games industry is because it turns out I have a new job and it's very silly.
Awesome. Great to have you on the channel, Pip, and lovely to meet you. OMG Vandy. Same question.
OMG! Hi guys, I'm Vandy. I'm very excited. Oh my gosh, I've needed my D&D fix, and next week it happens. I'm very excited to see how this group is going to turn out, especially from a character growth standpoint. I feel like there's going to be a lot of character growth and a lot of new friendships and maybe some new enemies formed. We'll have to see. But if you want to see more of my stuff, you can find me at twitch.tv/omgvandy. I'm also on Twitter, and I play in another Warhammer campaign on Metamancer's channel on Fridays. Follow me for art stuff and game stuff and RP stuff.
Fantastic. And Myth. Great job as the actual worst.
Thank you. I take that as a compliment, Will. Coming from you, thank you.
From me,
I'm super hyped to be here, super hyped to meet all of you and to play with you guys. I'm super honored for that. Thank you. Once again, playing with, I guess, as a player with Grimjack is such an honor. It's amazing watching and listening to him weave tales and tell stories. And you guys are in for a treat if you've never played with Greg. It's a blast. And also you out there, it's going to be great. So it's going to be great, okay? My name is Myth. I am a roleplay streamer and voice actor here on Twitch. You can follow me on the Twitches and the Twitters. Took that from Greg, sorry. You can find me there and where you can see what I'm doing throughout the week. I am regrowing my mustache, so if you want to stop in and take a look at the progress, you can. Or you can just hang out here and watch as it's like a flip book throughout the weeks. I will have a mustache by the end of the finale, I promise you. Thank you so much. Once again, it was a blast. I can't wait to play the awfulness that is this awful, awful character. And maybe with the redeeming qualities. I don't know. I'm super hyped and maybe a little hyper. So
I like
Thank you.
the idea of like mini game each week of just seeing your mustache grow, and
Yeah.
I want to see progression pictures for
That's
those
how
watching
I
the
get.
chat.
That's how I get my community. People just check in to see how my mustache
How it's
is,
doing.
and then they're like, "Oh, okay, I'll just stick around. I guess there's nothing else to watch." So
It's like it's like 10 times more interesting than watching paint dry. It's watching beards grow.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You really hit the niche market there. Congratulations, Myth, and great job. Definitely go follow Myth on Twitch here. And last but not least, James, great job tonight. I am very looking forward to playing this game with you, my friend.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be back playing with you, Will, and I'm super excited to be here with Ruva and Edmer and Graham and my new partner in crime, Morwen. We're gonna do so much crime in this city. This is such a great departure for me because I'm usually playing paladins, my home comfortable turf, and I'm going in the opposite direction this time.
No,
yeah.
crimes.
My anti-metagaming hat is on in full force. I'm excited for Grim to take
Right.
Waterdeep in a totally different direction from from everything I've ever done with it. This is so good. This is so good. I can't wait for next week.
Incredible stuff. And yeah, that's oh man, is it next week yet? Come on. But my friends, we're gonna head into our next game, which is session 0 for the new Game of Thrones show here on Encounter Roleplay. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys same time next week for the first session of this game. Go and follow all these folks. They're wonderful and fantastic. And you'll see them here each week starting next week at 5 p.m. So until next time, my friends. Oh, and stick around for the Tabletop Loot Dice giveaway. That's happening in just a few moments' time. And until next time, try not to roll too many net ones. We're going to be here laughing when you do. Good night, everyone. Farewell.
Bye.